Have you ever wondered what's really going on behind the scenes when one of your favorite apps just stops working? Well, today we're going to see what happens when the digital fire alarm gets pulled. We're looking at the super detailed world of incident management. Let's get into it.
We've all been there, right? You go to tap on something, you click, and you get nothing. It is so frustrating. But the second that happens, what you don't see is a highly structured, almost military-style process kicking into gear. An alarm has just gone off, and IT's first responders are already on the move.
So, here's how we're going to track this. We're going to follow the life of an incident from start to finish. We'll start by meeting the first responders, see how an incident is born, watch them investigate the cause, implement the fix, and finally, and this is crucial, see how they learn the lesson. It's a really detailed and structured journey. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Who exactly are these people on the front lines, and what's the playbook that guides everything they do?
Here's the official textbook definition. But the key phrase you need to focus on is as quickly as possible. See, the number one priority isn't to figure out why it broke. Not yet, anyway. The only thing that matters right now is getting things back up and running fast.
And this is the perfect way to think about them. They are literally the paramedics of the tech world. You know, when paramedics show up to an accident, their job isn't to perform complex surgery on the spot. No, their job is to stop the bleeding, stabilize the patient, in this case, the service, so that things can get back to normal. The deep dive diagnosis has to wait. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Incident management doesn't happen in a bubble. It's actually the central hub, kind of like the ER in the middle of a giant hospital. You've got all these other specialists, problem management, change enablement, and all the rest. For the hospital to function, they all have to be communicating perfectly. And we're about to see exactly how they do that.
All right, so let's start our story. Where does an incident actually come from? How does it begin?
Well, a lot of the time, an incident is born before any human being even notices there's a problem. There are these automated systems, these digital watchdogs that are constantly monitoring everything. The second a server's memory gets too high or some background process fails, bam, an alert is triggered, a ticket is created automatically, and the clock officially starts ticking. Okay, so the alarm has sounded, the incident is logged in the system, that clock is ticking down, now the real investigation begins. And this right here is probably the most crucial distinction to understand in this whole process. The incident management team, they are the firefighters. Their only question is, how do we put this fire out right now? Then you have a totally separate team, problem management. They're the fire inspectors. They show up later to ask the deeper question. Okay, why did this fire start in the first place? And how do we make sure it never, ever happens again?
And of course, sometimes it's a false alarm. What looks like a massive system failure might actually just be someone who needs their password reset. So a huge part of the initial job is triage, quickly figuring out what's a real fire and what's just a routine request, and then handing it off to the right people.
Now, this is where the whole system starts to feel really smart. If this exact problem has happened before, those fire inspectors from problem management have already done their job. They've figured out the cause, they've documented a fix, and they've created what's called a known error. It's basically a cheat sheet. So when the same issue pops up again, the incident team can find that workaround and get the service back online in minutes instead of hours. So the team has investigated, they've got a solution, whether it's a quick workaround or a more permanent fix. Now it's time to actually put it into action. But you can't just go in there and start flipping switches. I mean, that's how you turn a small problem into a gigantic outage. This is where that incredible structure is so important. If the fix requires actually changing the system, a formal request for change, or RFC, has to be raised. No exceptions. And that request goes to another key team, change enablement. You could think of them as the air traffic controllers of IT. They look at that proposed fix, they assess all the risks, and they make absolutely sure that fixing this one thing won't accidentally break 5 other things. It's a critical safety check to make sure the cure isn't worse than the disease. Okay, the fix is in. The service is back online. The app is working again. Everyone can finally breathe a huge sigh of relief. But the job's not done yet. And this, right here, might just be the most important step in the entire process. It's what makes the whole system get smarter over time.
Every single detail, the incident, the symptoms, the successful fix, it all gets documented and fed back into a central knowledge management system. This is how that library of known errors we talked about gets built. Every solved problem becomes permanent institutional knowledge.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The whole point of this incredibly detailed and structured process isn't just about fixing today's problem. It's about learning from it, documenting that lesson, and making sure that the next time it happens, the entire organization is smarter, better, and faster. It's how you turn chaos into a repeatable science.
It really makes you think, though. This whole thing, this whole beautiful, coordinated dance, it only works because all these different teams and all these different systems are communicating flawlessly. And maybe that's the biggest takeaway here. In our incredibly complex world, the biggest challenge isn't always the technology itself, but just making sure all the pieces and all the people can actually work together.